All right. Hello, everybody. Time for the Rabun County Rag. Thursday night. It is the 27th of June, 2025. And here I am, struggling along, trying to get things going. I tell you what, I'm frustrated today. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. But we're going to go ahead and start with our regular introduction program. See if I can get my notes. Man, tell you what. Come on. Crackhead. Yeah. Well, it just... Greetings, everybody. Let me get these headphones off because they confuse me. All this latency. Hope everybody's doing good. Uh-oh. There we go. Got those shut off. Been a frustrating day. Anyway, greetings. Glad to have you on board. Maybe we'll have somebody pop in. Maybe I'm on the right channel. Last week, I did it on the wrong channel again. It was crazy, man. I'm on the Rabun County Rag this time, but last week I was streaming on my other account. I hope nobody showed up to watch. Oh, I'm still on the wrong thing here. Let me go ahead and change out Rabun County Rag. There we go. Hope everybody's satisfied with that. Anyway, greetings. Got some storms running through, guys. I hope y'all are batting down. And I remember I'm on the satellite here. Ain't no telling what's going to happen with me getting out. It says right now I got an excellent connection. But I have known that to be spotty even on a clear night. So, but I'm still thankful for the old boys at Starlink, boys and girls. Looks like we got rain rolling through here. Got a lightning alert till 6:30 tonight. And the chance of severe storms, I could show you the map. I don't know if it'll focus. Keeps wanting to see everything else, what it wants to do, see that. I got this thing on autofocus, and it won't focus on anything but a face. But anyway, I wonder if I can change that. Y'all mind if I go to some changes here? What was that? Let's see. Image, streaming, HDR, focus mode. I got it on manual. So I'm going to turn it on face, but see, as long as it sees that face, let's put it on global. Let's see. That thing show up now. Oh, heck. It ain't worth the food. Anyway, here we are. Could use a little rain. Last week we was all dry. I mean, all wet. Or last week we was all wet. Now, this week been all dry. Anyway, greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Rabun County Rag. Glad to have you. Who are we? We're a community of like-minded people with common interest in hunting, fishing, protecting our families, community, culture, and environment. We exchange ideas, resources, and information. I'd like to know that we appeal to a large audience of different people, different makeup, different incomes, but sometimes you just got to reach out there and see who wants to be a part. Anyway, I hope everybody's got something to be grateful for this past week. I'm grateful. I got the grandson came over today or last night, and we fixed some dinner. I know I got two things going on here. Audio. I'm going to get rid of that. All right. So now I shouldn't. Last week it was double voices and everything else. It was screwed up. If this is sounding, if I got double audio, let me know. I just clicked it and hopefully I fix that. You know, I'm still learning this stuff too. Let me see if I can get mobiled in a little better. There we go. How's that? I like to get my logo in there. I like him. I modified him slightly. There we go. Anyway, gratefulness. What are we grateful for out there today? I heard a lot of good things this past week for some other folks, and it's good to take an opportunity to be grateful from time to time. You should do it every day. I try to look for something to be grateful for every day. Now, I told you earlier I was a little frustrated, and I'll tell you why. I'm getting to it. And maybe it's just me. Y'all tell me. Anybody out there wants to chime in when I get started, y'all go ahead. We were dry last week, gave the garden a chance to dry out. I got some mulching done. Got some grass cut, finished the grass last week. Now it looks like it needs it again, but I ain't doing it. I ain't cutting my grass every darn week. I just ain't doing it. I like it to get, you know, a little higher than the ankle before I cut it. I'm not. Some people like that short lawn that looks like a golf course. I don't. I like to give the wildflowers a chance to go. Get some dandelions and some yellow flowers and blue flowers and all that growing out in the lawn. I don't know how we got caught up over the years into thinking that that everybody has to have a lawn. If it were up to me, I would convert my front yard into another garden and have regular plantings in it. Maybe a rose garden or something like that. That would be kind of cool. Plant a rose garden in the front yard instead of having grass. Backyard's just about done. All I got is some pathways and a couple patches that need to be cut. But the front yard and the side yard, I told you I put up the horseshoe pit. I wouldn't mind putting some kind of plantings around the horseshoe pits, kind of away from them, but dressing that up. But I'm grateful for the way everything's looking around the homestead here. I like it. I'm still talking about my darn old driveway. I got to get out there. We got a little community up here on the hill and got, 4 neighbors other than myself. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of them you hardly ever see. He lives way on up the hill. But, we got about a 1 mile road that's gravel. And, all the rain we've had, boy, it has really taken a toll on that old gravel road. And it needs maintenance. And I thought about getting out there this week, but I was covered up with too many other things I had to do. I guess not last week, with the week before. I was out of town, and last week I was catching up on some stuff. But anyway, that's just some stuff that's I'm fortunate to have a road that has a lot of privacy, so I'm going to call that fortunate, even though it does require work from time to time. And I'm going to continue to mention this. Maybe some capitalist is, they'll hop on and take note that I think we need to have a return to clothing manufacturing and shoe manufacturing in the whole country as a whole. And it'd be nice to have some here in the county like we used to have. We used to have a shirt manufacturer, some jeans manufacturers, underwear through the loom. But I think that we should have a return of that kind of work here in the county, because I tell you, man, maybe that'd do something. Well, I'll tell you about that later. But it's good to be here with you guys, hanging out together. The wildlife seems to be doing well. Seen a couple more turkeys way down the road there, plus the couple I got here. If y'all know how their young ones behave, I'd like to see a bunch of little turkeys tagging along behind these hens. It'd be nice to see a population grow. Now I know I got some bobcats and I got some coyotes, and what else we got? And hawks. We got a hawk or two. I know that they're open to predation, but that's okay. As long as we can get a healthy population of both predators and prey, that would be all right with me. I understand the cycle of life. I'm not opposed to it. But anyway, and then last week we talked about, and I'm going to talk about it again, is, we have a shooting range in this county. And I've tried to get up there a couple times, but I can get so far in my F-150, and it gets a little too tricky for me. And I've been some places in that F-250. I've been some places, Patterson Gap. Is that Patterson Gap? Blue Ridge Blue Ridge Gap up through there. What's that one? High Tower Gap off Charlie's Creek Road. I've been through there. I'm making some places. I ain't too afraid, but this one, it was too big a challenge for me to really take a look at. But it'd be real nice if a bunch of us people could get together, community members, and put together some kind of work crew and some kind of material list, and get up there and spend a weekend or two, maybe, I don't know, and get that road cleared up, and then have us a shooting range here in the county. So y'all think about it. If you cruise by and catch this thing, give it a look and listen to, think about that. Anyway, moving along, I want to get to the heat of the thing. Bears do's and don'ts. I hope everybody's watching out for the bears. I ain't heard nothing in the past couple weeks about them. Son-in-law says the outdoor automatic lights go on every now and then. I think he told me the other day he ran out there in his night clothes, and there was a mama and two little cubs this time. So it looks like we got another couple little bears going to be coming up around here. Now they got a pretty big territory, I understand, and it takes them, it takes them a long time to make their runs. But that if food is easy, they are going to be closer to the easy food source. So keep your outdoor food sources. I know they get after bird feeders and everything else. And they deserve to be here. We are in their territory, I had a video one time where I run one off, and some old lady got on there, says, "Why can't we just leave wildlife alone? They got just as we're in their territory." And I said, "You're right, ma'am. You're right." And I got, several acres here, and I got cordoned off of just a little bitty spot for my garden in my house so that I can survive here myself. And they're more than free to stay anywhere outside of out in the tree, out beyond the tree line. They are more than welcome to go by there, but to get into the garden and tear up the trash, I don't want to do that. And I take measures to keep them outside of the tree line, and they're more welcome to occupy as much of that space out there as they wish. And they do. I mean, they do pass by. I've got them on trail cams, supplementing themselves with some deer feed or whatever we got out there. But anyway, that's that on that. And another incident of somebody being a darn litter bug. Where was that? It was on the Facebook, man, here in the county. It looked like somebody just took the darn dumpster and just went out, and I forgot what road it on, and just dumped it right down the damn hillside. It'd be impossible to get it up. I don't understand what the thought process is. What kind of Yahoo? I mean, how much money did he save? Did he bring in a couple $100? Is his lifestyle that bad where he can't manage his business without destroying the environment in which we all love and enjoy? If I caught somebody doing that, boy, I'd get tag numbers and everything else and make a dang noise about that cat. And then you think he's saving some money dumping it down a ravine like that in a forest? Let him clean that up, see how much it cost him compared to the tip fee he'd have to pay at the landfill, by golly. So if you scroll past this and you're the rascal that did that, know I'm looking for you. And I ain't looking for no confrontation, but I'm looking for recompense from my neighbors where you went through there and messed up their property and littered the environment. Yeah, I think you should pay recompense for that, and you should clean that up and learn a lesson. Anyway, moving along. Y'all could tell I'm on a tear tonight. I may be way out of line on this, but I'm working down the line here. Fishing, still doing good. You know, I told you last week I was going to tell you a story. What time is it? 20 after. Boy, I've been ranting and raving for 20 minutes. And it's a story about the trout fishing bear. Now, it was cold. I remember this. And it was November because them boys were out there with their bear, you know, their dogs and their trucks, and they was hunting them bears, and them dogs had them radio collars on them, and old boy had a Yagi beam now. And I'm sure technology has advanced. Like I said, this has probably been 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And I'm sure technology has advanced significantly. And now they have GPS trackers on them, right? Just like the phones. I lost my phone. I lost my dog. But back then, old boy had a Yagi beam and a radio receiver, and he can turn it, and it'd tell him the direction he needed to head in to go fetch his dog. When it got lost, they get chasing them bears. They get way the hell out there. And so I'm fishing, and I'm going to no, I ain't going to tell you exactly where I was. I was on Tallulah River, on the northern reaches, still in Rabun County. And there's a place up there I've always had real good success at that point. Now, the river has changed through there as of late. That's changed quite a bit. But I had me a honey hole up there I'd go to, and man, it was a difficult time in life. I was probably been 22 years. I was going through a divorce, and man, I was missing my kids, and me and that old ex-wife, she was being vindictive and mean, you know, and I probably wasn't being the kindest person in the world, but I was going to go fishing. And boy, I left. I'm living on the west side of Atlanta, and it took me a good 3 hours to get that fishing home. And it was November, so you know it didn't get light till about what, 7, something like that time of year. And probably left about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and drove up here. And the higher I got, the foggier it got. I could barely find my way to get to my fishing hole. If y'all know about Tallulah River on the northern reaches, that's old dirt road, Forest Service road they maintain. And it's got several bridges on it and some twists and turns. And luckily I'd fished there, been fishing there a number of years, so I was pretty familiar with it. And so I'm easing up through there. No windshield wipers weren't doing no good. You got your darn lights on, you're getting blinded by the fog. So I'm even hanging the head out the window trying to drive and do the best I can, and I got there. Amazingly, I got there. And it was still foggy, and I had sitting, and I was in an old Buick Century, 94 model. So that thing was, it was 15 years old or so, and I think it was a 94 model. And so I was sitting in the seat with the lights on. I got everything rigged up and going out through there, and the river ain't very wide right there, maybe 25 feet or so. I don't know. And it was foggy. I could barely see there's a rhododendron overhang, and I'd always fish under that underhang. Fish it. Let my fly drift under there and catch a drift and get in a feeding lane and catch me a fish or two. And I'm glad I'm telling this story and let me wind down a little bit. So I'm out there fishing, and it's foggy, and I hadn't been there since probably in the early spring now, because I just don't fish during the highest part of the fishing season. I'm not much into crowds. I feel like I'm influenced by them, and they're catching stockers, and I like to catch the holdovers and the stream rears and all this stuff. It's just a different mind game. I'm not there fishing for dinner. I'm there for the sport and enjoyment of being in nature. And so it's foggy. I told you that. And I could look across there, and I thought I could see some fish, and it was just getting daylight, but it was still foggy. And I thought I could see them old fish might have been hitting on something in there. It was probably early November. And I started working my way back upstream, and there was a small rock beach there. I was fishing off the beach toward that overhang, that cut, and it was under that rhododendron. And I glanced upstream, and it looked like a darn stump. And I don't know if you know, but when you get to fishing, you get to concentrating on your target, and you're working, and you're trying to, you got back cast issues in the fog, you got hanging in the rhododendron in front of you. So you're really concentrating on how you're presenting that fly with a side cast, a roll cast, tower cast, or just a plain cast. You're just working on getting your bait out there. And I was fishing an ultralight rod. Is a light right, a 5 foot, I think a 5.5 foot fly rod. And it had a double taper on it. I remember that. And light leader, small fly. And I'm fishing. And I look up, and it looked like a stump. It looked like a darn old windfall or something. It'd been a few months since I've been there. I knew riverbank changes with washouts and storms and all that. And I'm familiar with that kind of thing. I didn't pay it much attention. And I kept working my way up. And I got closer to that thing. And all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 feet away, and I looked down, and it was a darn old black bear. He'd just been sitting there watching me while I was watching him. And when I looked down into that face and them brown eyes, it scared me. It scared me. And I took off running downstream, and I felt that thing was trying to get me on my back when I was running. And y'all seen them old sci-fi movies? I don't know, Star Trek or some of them other ones where they're sitting in, they're sitting in the spaceship, and they punch that thing in the hyperdrive or warp drive or whatever, and all the lights go into a stream, just streaks of light. Well, the trees did that. to me at that point. Everything turned into a blur. And I could hear a 12-year-old girl screaming, and it scared me. I said, oh Lord, it's eating a baby girl. And about that time, my line had got hung up somewhere, and I ran out of line, and it dragged my line. It caught me, and it pulled me out of the Doppler effect. And as them trees came out of the blur, and that 12-year-old girl, when it came out of the Doppler effect, was me screaming. And I was wore out, man. You put in a burst of energy like that, and I'm a big old boy. I come in, I normally stay around 235, 250, somewhere in there. But when that thing snatched me out of hyperdrive, I realized that I was exhausted, and I sat down, and I had kicked off one of, I got the waders that kind of got you put a felt, or you could put a stud on the bottom of them to walk, and I'd lost a felt off the bottom of my shoe. And I sat there and regained my breath, regained my composure. And I said, well, he tried to get me. He tried to get me. And so I started working my line back on the reel, and I got down there, and I didn't see him nowhere, and the sky had brightened up, and the fog had lifted somewhat. It was still real foggy. But when I got back down there to the point of interaction, I'll call it, I noticed that there's scratch-off marks going toward the way I went, and scratch-off marks going toward the way he went the other way. He went upstream, I went downstream. And I figured when he took off, he sprayed rocks on my back. That's what I thought was getting me. And I laugh about that when I think about it every time. I want to share that with you, but here's the thing. You reckon he went back to camp and talked about the story the same way I did, and how it affected his fishing habits from there on out? I know it had affected mine a great deal, and how I fished and the precautions I took. Anyway, that is the trout fishing bear story. And I'm glad I told you, because it certainly has lifted my moods. But now I'm starting to think about the other thing. Man, this may not mean a lot to a bunch of people, especially if you're not in Rabun County, especially if you don't pay taxes in Rabun County. But let's talk about the garden first. I don't want to talk about the garden. Anyway, the garden's dried out, and I've been looking for the mulch hay, and I finally found the old boy. And what was his name? Frank Hickox. And I believe that's his farm, called Nod Farm, out there in Tiger. And I hope he don't mind me saying anything, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Thank you, Frank. They had some mulch hay, and I went and got me. I think I got 6 bales, and I can go back and get more. He's got a lot more. So if you need some mulch hay, get with me, and I'll hook you up with him. He ran it on the Facebook. If any of y'all's on the Facebook, look under mulch hay. And I think his son's name was Heath. And I rolled up, drove right past it. I noticed a couple old boys working up some firewood and things like that on the left, but the GPS said I wasn't on target yet, so I kept on going way up the hill. And I said, I wonder if he's on the other side of the hill and the numbers go back the other way again. And so it got kind of rough, and I turned around and I came back by, and I was looking at the numbers this time, and I never saw it. And about that time, the phone ding, ding. Hey man, this is me up here on the tractor. My name is Heath. I said, oh, okay. So I got down the bottom road, turned around this guy's driveway. It says, nudist seen occasionally, or some caution nudist, nudist occasionally in the yard or something. I said, well, that's cool with me. I got turned around and went back up there and introduced myself. He says, go up there and see my daddy. And I looked, and there's old boy sitting on one of them, I think it was a Kawasaki. One of them Kawasaki side by sides. He said, he's the boss. I said, yeah, I can see that. He's sitting down and he's in the shade. And so I got started down through there and hooked up with him. He took off and he directed me back into this place where they had some of that hay. And I got back in there and had a real enjoyable conversation with him. He's a lifelong Rabunite, been here all his life, and I was proud to meet him. He said, you could tell he's a working man. I think he's in his 70s. But he said he built houses for 40 years in Rabun County. And we yacked it up a little while, and he told me why he had to mulch hay, and I thought that was grand. I told him I appreciate you letting me come out and pick some of this up and put on my garden. And anyway, and I started loading it, and he had another guy working for him. Who was it? Hector. Jose or Hector? I'm not sure, but he come driving up and he helped me load them 6 bales on there, and I gave him, I was only going to get 5, but I had enough money to get 6, so I gave him everything. I had $1 left, and I had $1 a day when I went to the drugstore to get some medicine. It was $1.24 for the medicine. I had to give her a debit card because I didn't have no cash. Anyway, back to the mulch story. And so that was on a Sunday. Pretty sure. Might have been Saturday. Must have been Saturday afternoon. And so I went up there and got it, brought it back, and got it stowed away under the deck there so it'll stay dry till I get to it. And on Monday, I went out there, went for a walk. First, I'd go for a walk 3 days a week, and I normally go a couple miles. So, got back from the walk and got out there, and boy, mulching the garden, I put out 2 full bales of that hay. It was big square bales. They were square, small ones. They was big rectangular ones. Probably weigh about 70 pounds. I worked that gum way up past lunchtime. And I got done, and I was covered in straw and dust and everything else. Boy, old straw dust had me coughing. I went upstairs to get some lunch and talked to the wife. I said, doggone, that's a lot like Monday. First, second, third. Okay. And I told her, man, that was a lot like work. She said it was hot too, wasn't it? I said, yeah, I was covered in sweat. I went straight in, took a shower, changed clothes, and I had to get downstairs, and I had some stuff to do downstairs in the office where I'm at now. But got it done. And then we had a drop of rain, and I'm glad I got it done. That mulch, that's good news for your garden. It keeps the moisture from coming all the way out. A lot of it won't stop at all. But and I put out some 10-10-10 before I put down the mulch, just to give everybody a good fertilization, because it looks like it, there were some blooms out there, and it's getting ready where the blooms are coming on strong, and I always like to give it some kind of feed. Now, it wasn't no more than a coffee can full of fertilizer. I don't believe in heavy fertilization. Matter of fact, I'm trying to get away from it. That's why I'm going that no-till and putting in this mulching and doing this mulching operation. But got her done. We ain't had a drop of rain since. It looks like it's raining this evening a little bit. That'd be nice. Put a little rain down on a Thursday night. Anyway. And here's the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and start talking about it. Went to the post office this morning. And in the post office, there was this letter, and it had red writing on it, Rabun County Board of Tax Assessors. Oh, I said, oh, Lord. And I opened it up, and they have increased my taxes by 25. Let me figure that out. Hold on a minute. 4. Let's see. It about $25,000. It went. They increased the retail value of my property by $25,000. Of course, you know the reason they do that, right? They can't increase your tax. And now they're talking about raising the meals. The Board of Education. Anyway. 3. That's about 22% increase in taxes. And my math might be wrong, but I know it upset me, okay? It's at least. No, it's 22. It's about 22% increase in the taxes. Man, I shoved it back in there. Another old boy comes in and he said, how you doing? I said, I'm doing okay. And he saw me with that letter and he got his mail out and I was culling mine. He said, well, I might as well cull mine while I'm standing here. I said, I don't blame you. Leave it right here in the trash can. And he saw his and he opened it up. And he said, doggone. I said, tell me about it. He said, what are they thinking? I said, and I got to be a smarty pants. I said, well, I guess the commissioners needed their roads paved and, they needed some more AstroTurf on the ball fields around here at the high school or whatever they, being real snide about it because I've heard of some stuff like that. And so I came home and I was still mad about it. And I got the newspaper out. I was going to try and read up on the newspaper and come up with some current events for you guys. And the front page stopped me cold. The taxes in this county, 22 to 23% increase in revenues through taxes in this county. And it's not that big a county. And I'm like, gosh almighty, man, what is going on here? The economy we're in right now, it hurts me. Yeah, it does. But there's other folks out there, people who's raising families and got kids and stuff, and they getting by paycheck to paycheck. And that's a stranglehold on these people with the rate of inflation we've had since that last clown was in office. And goofed up things so that we had all this inflation. And it just burned me. And then, right next to it, the school board has raised their taxes by almost $1 million. And that comes from Sploust, and they get a portion of the property tax. They help set the millage rate on the property taxes. And I'm like, good Lord. Good Lord. And I got to doing a little research. And get this. There are 2,311 students in the county system. And the school taxes are the money that the school system gets is $43 million $201,128 for 2,311 students. And I did the math. That's $18,663 a year per student to educate them. And I said, is that high or is that low? And I found out that the national average is $17,073. The national average for a student in school, the cost is $17,073. That's a national. Georgia's average is $13,431. And for Rabun County, it's $18,693 per student. And I said, well, us being ranked that high, hell, we ought to be making good grades, man. Our students ought to be doing an excellent job. And I went in and looked at just the Georgia rankings. And the Georgia ranking, Rabun County, is 33rd out of 220 school districts. And then I'm looking in the sports pages, and they had a ball camp, and it was a high school in Tiger, I think. Might have been Rabun County High School. These kids is playing on AstroTurf. And I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on here? The parents can't afford to feed the kids. They can't afford to give them a decent home, keep them cool in the winter or summer and warm in the winter. But they're playing on AstroTurf. In what world does that make sense in? And it just got me flabbergasted. Now, yeah, I'm on a fixed income and I'm an older dude. But these are real numbers, guys, boys and girls. These ain't stuff I'm making up. You throw a 23% increase on your real estate taxes on top of how much 35%, 50% increase on fuel, on heating your home in the past 4 years. And the same for groceries. The same for gasoline. It ain't adding up. It ain't adding up. I think I need to start going and making a fool of myself at some of these county commissioner meetings. I need to start making a ruckus at these Board of Education meetings. It sounds like these government officials, I don't know if there's any cronyism or nepotism involved in all this, or whether they're going to be casting a bad eye at me in the county. I don't know. If they do, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's a dang shame that everything, that means your dollar has been cut in half in the past 4 or 5 years. Your dollar has been cut in half by energy, food, insurance. Insurance has gone up 50% in some cases on your home and your auto. So your dollar in the past 4 years, you take a dollar 4 years ago and look at it today, it's worth 50 cents. Any of y'all's income doubled this year? Anybody? Your income doubled this year? Not mine. Not mine. And my wife's mad at me because I'm having to tighten the belt on the fixed income. Hell, I'm having to do more consulting work. And I don't mind working. I like getting out there visiting with the boys, get out of the house. I don't mind that at all. But it's the idea that everybody is ganging up on the guy who goes out there and bends his. No wonder we can't find nobody to work in this dadgum country, man. Who wants to go to work like that? Hell, it's better to get a divorce, put your wife on public assistance with all the kids, and go to bartering with a chainsaw or something, you know. Who wants to go to work and work 60 hours when you can, I don't know. Y'all, give me your opinion. If you're flipping through here and you catch this, give me your thoughts on it. I couldn't hardly read the rest of the newspaper for that. It made me so upset. But anyway, I'll try and move along. I will. Remember, Clayton Farmers Market's going strong now. Don't forget to hit the flea markets. The indoor one's open. Indoor flea market is open. They've got the Northeast Georgia or Mountain Lakes or some hospital has bought out a large chunk of that indoor. And I think they're going to let the indoor flea market finish out this year. So now we got a big old hospital on the hill. We got Northeast Georgia, and then they got all this property down here at the flea market where people would go and make a living. They bought that out, and they're using these Obama dollars to support their sales and administrators, and the patient service has gone down and the cost has gone up. Thank you, Obama. Thank you. I mean, I really do. You have made worse the healthcare in this country by making it so these pharmaceuticals and hospitals can come in and buy up all this stuff and still provide service. It ain't nothing that it should be. It's a damn shame. Anyway, I shouldn't even said something about that. And then the one up in Mountain City, I still like going to that one. That's a nice one. I hate to be ranting, but flea markets are wonderful places. That's where barter and exchange happens. And it's got to be the purest form. Without all the liabilities and the insurances and the rents and the power bills and all that stuff that everybody wants to. Don't get me started on the power bill. That's another one. I've been ranting about this for a long time. And my politicians making deals with them big old companies that come in and building them data processing centers so we can see who can get to the singularity first using artificial intelligence. What the heck? Anyway. A lot of 4th of July activities, more than I could list. A lot of things going on at the lake. There's a fun run. Mountain City's got a barbecue. Black Rock Lake has got a fun walk on the 4th or the 5th. I don't know which day it is. But check with your local newspaper. And the more I read that newspaper, the madder I got to. I feel like I'm living in a socialist world, Every columnist in there, they talk about it's a shame that they're cutting all these government fundings. There's one old guest columnist that lives way out in Washington in our local paper whining about how the NIH has cut money when he's out there teaching college and pursuing the study of viruses. And the NIH is cutting money. I'm sorry, son. I guess you're going to have to, I don't know. It's getting tight. I don't know. How far can we go? Or no wonder Biden brought in all those illegal aliens. I ain't got nothing against a man who wants to come and make himself a better life. I'm against him not doing it legally or the way that our laws are written. He's taking advantage of a system. De facto, he's already a lawbreaker if he didn't come in the right way. If he's not going to pay attention to the laws of getting into the country, why should he pay attention to any other of the laws? Like drug peddling, driving without a license, running from the law. And then you get these governments like in California and New York and Chicago and sanctuary. And then I heard today that the darn Democratic nominee of New York City mayor is a straight up Islamic communist. And they won. And he's talking about free groceries. What? Free groceries? Who's going to pay for that? Yeah. Around here, all my money done got. Ain't no money, man. Hey, if I'm wrong and y'all see it differently, please explain it to me how it really works. I can't think of an honest man who works an honest day who would go along with any of that. If I'm wrong, if you're an honest man working an honest day and you think this stuff is going on in fairness, I want to hear how. Tell me. Explain to me. You might be able to sway me. I mean, I'm 63 years old and have worked my life under the premise that if you work hard and do well, you can get ahead. I've watched it crumble. And now I see these young people go to school, get a college education, put yourself in debt to the tune of $250,000, and then you can pay that back the rest of your life. In these colleges, man, they're building great big monstrosities to their own greatness and hire administrators who sit around and tell you whether you're participating correctly in politically correct speech, DEI, SG something or other, and boys can be girls and girls can be boys and cats can be boys and dogs can be girls, whatever. I don't understand them, but they got people they pay to make sure it's happening, man. I guess the only thing I can say is not everybody's going to understand this. Who is John Galt? I ought to do me a series on that. Which one? Which channel? I can't do it on my safety channel, because I really want people to be aware of their hazards. I don't want to see anybody get hurt for doing work and not knowing or not being trained properly. So I can do it on Nothing New. I don't want to be one of these political guys. I don't want. But I think if you see a fool, you ought to call out a fool and let them prove you different. What old Mark Twain said? He said, I might be a fool, but I'm God's fool. Anyway, running out of time. Let's go ahead and get these last 5 minutes. Y'all, 4th of July is next week. Next Friday, I think. Let's see. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Next Saturday. Is that right? Let me look. 4th of July. We should all take that time next week and express Independence Day is next Friday, July 4th. I think on the 4th of July that we ought to honor our forefathers and the gift they gave us of this country. And in the same moment, look at it and see what has happened to the true sense of freedom and liberty. Because what we're living in right now, I don't know, man. It's a wonderful occasion. We have the gift, and we have the right to keep that gift. And we can do that through the exercise of our rights. Now, they got us scared. Oh, you go to jail for that. You can't say that. You get in trouble. No. I can say anything I want. That's guaranteed under the First Amendment. And the First Amendment is protected by the Second Amendment. I ain't saying we gotta rise up in no armed conflict, but there's one thing we gotta remember. There's a lot more guns and bullets in this country than there are people. And it's designed that way. And we've got to quit being afraid. We've got to start demanding back that which has been stolen from us. And they didn't steal it. They just didn't come in and steal it. We allowed them to steal it from us. And we need to get it back. You know, we trusted too much. We didn't hold them accountable. And some of us didn't want to hold them accountable because we was on the bandwagon with them. We was getting some of the goodies they was taking from the people out there who's bending their back on a daily basis to make this place what it is, or what it was, I should say. So, in closing, please study your history. Understand what this country's built on. It's built on freedom and liberty. And with those freedoms and liberties come a great deal of responsibility. The security they offer for government handout is weak. And it makes us weak. The Spirit has the ability to transform their lives. But the first thing that has to happen is we have to transform our minds and spirits. Anyway, it is 7:01 according to everything. Anyway, if somebody scrolls through here and sees this, thanks. Give me a thumbs up, say hello, give me a comment. If I'm talking like a fool on this episode because the tax stuff got me stirred up, let me know if I'm out of touch or if I'm out of bounds. I want to hear it from you. I want to hear you tell me that I'm out of bounds. If you tell me that, I'm going to want an explanation. I'm going to want a reasonable argument. I don't want none of this emotional whine, baby cry stuff. My grandson's already starting to try that with me, and he knows I don't care about none of that whining. But anyway, got to end. Love you everybody. And remember, have a grateful day. And I'll see you next Thursday night at 6. Until then, have a grateful day.